Revolutionary Paper Slide by Audrey Esposito and Noah Washington. The Navigation Act of 1651. Parliament passed these acts in 1651 to 1660. This act required that the trade was now processed by the British government. It made the colonists unhappy because it terminated trade with foreign countries. The colonists' goods sent for trade was sugar, tobacco, cotton, wool, indigo, and ginger. This act will eventually lead to a rebellion. Salutary neglect. This policy was made by the British government, and it was established regarding the Navigation Act. With this, the colonists were now allowed more ability to trade freely. It only required that the colonies would remain loyal to Britain. The colonists were happy that their goods were making them profit now. Proclamation of 1763. This was made after the French and Indian War. Before, the colonists were happy because new opportunities will be made from the new land. The proclamation stopped expansion ideas. It was used to keep the colonists on the eastern seaboard, which made it easier to control them. It required that all lands west of rivers flowing to the Atlantic Ocean were off limits. The Sugar Act. This act lowered the tax on exported goods for Britain. The British Navy became more active in shipping the goods, and the tax that was originally 6 pieces were now 3 for the British. There is a greater tax on foreign exported goods, which will lead to a decrease in trade. The Sons of Liberty. This group was a group of men that formed a political organization. They met to discuss Britain's power on the colonies. The leader of this group was Samuel Adams. They were known for organizing and carrying out the Boston Tea Party. Stamp Act. This act was passed to help Britain regain control on debt from the 7 Years' War. The tax was represented by a stamp on paper. It made the colonists angry because they had no consent or representation in Parliament. It worried them that Parliament was now starting to tax more and more. It will lead to riots. Quartering Act. This act required American colonists to house and provide basic needs for the British soldiers when needed. Parliament viewed the situation as the colonists were the ones who would need the protection if invasion occurred, so they should pay for the soldiers. This angered the colonists. The issues for the colonists were the cost of the British were very expensive to house, and they feared that they would be needed to be put into the traditional standing armies of Britain.
Now we can continue with the Boston Massacre. It occurred on March 5th, 1770 between a patriotic of 50 and British soldiers. It was led by Captain Thomas Preston, and he just fired into the mob of angry people. But then later on, a town meeting was called, and then at the end of the day, 2 soldiers were accused of manslaughter. the Gaspee Affair. It occurred on June 9th, 1772. It was Lieutenant William Duddington and his ship was charged with patrolling the waters in Narragansett Bay, now known as the Gaspee Point. On June 9th, a local ship baited the Gaspee to shallow waters, and then later on, a group of 55 people, led by a man named John Brown, attacked and looted the ship of all his money, and then watched it burn. As we continue, we get the Tea Act. This was an act passed by the Parliament on May 10th, 1773. It served to help the East India Company sell all 18 million pounds of tea that they had to the colonies. But as a result of this, the colonies didn't even do it. Tea was just left to rot, shipped back to Britain, or, again, left to rot. So, as we continue, this caused the Boston Tea Party. One night in Boston, people disguised as Native Americans and then went to the Boston Harbor and dumped all of the tea into the harbor. Not one person from that colony drank a cup of tea. As we continue, we have the Intolerable Acts. And all the events occurred in Boston and all the other colonies. The government ended up spending numerous amounts of money on troops and goods. And most of those goods were, of course, on tea. And as a result, in 1774, a lot of colonies were pressed with taxes. And this resulted in the First Continental Congress. This Congress met from September 5th to October 26, 1774, and each state sent representatives except Georgia. After this Congress, there were three significant events that happened, which included A union upon the colonies. This basically meant all the colonies came together as one to go against Britain and his overruling. The Declaration of Rights, they have their own independent laws and were away from Britain in a continental association, which meant that they controlled anything that came in the colonies at all. And that is my paper slide. Thank you for watching.